Democratic Senator Joe Manchin blasting President Biden for refusing to negotiate with House Speaker Kevin McCarthy over his debt limit plan. Will both sides get back to the table, or is the nation headed for a default? I want to bring in Romina Boccia, Director of Budget and Entitlement Policy at the Cato Institute, and Gene Ross, American Progress Senior Fellow. Good morning to both of you. Romina, I will start with you. You know, there's a question about whether House Speaker McCarthy is holding Biden hostage or Biden's holding him hostage.
I think we saw a really good opening bid from Speaker McCarthy this week. I believe the House will vote on that proposal next week. I think it's time for President Biden to come to the table and seriously negotiate this debt limit. The responsible choice is obvious. It is to put forth in place policies that will stabilize the debt so it doesn't grow past the size of the U.S. economy. At 100% of GDP, debt is already
Romina, we haven't heard,
damaging.
but the flip side is they come to the table. Come to the table with what? Because it's not clear that House Speaker McCarthy has come up with a plan, if you will.
Oh, they've put forth a very concrete plan. They want to save at least $4.5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is about half of what's necessary to stabilize the debt over that time period. But it's at least as big as the Budget Control Act was in 2011 that Boehner and Obama negotiated. So we do have a precedent there, and I believe Biden can do what Obama did back then and agree to a deal with Republicans that will save some money for taxpayers and put us on a better path.
Gene, how do you react to that?
Is a plan. It's a very radical plan. It doesn't reflect the values of Americans and would have tremendous harm for families, for our economy, for everything that we hold dear. And I think what we've seen right now is that the House majority is actually holding our country hostage. The debt limit is not something to play around with. We know that failure to pay our bills would have a catastrophic impact, not only in the U.S., but across global financial systems, the global economy. It's time to have a clean vote to raise or suspend the debt limit.
Gene, let's say we do that, and then we enter. The Republicans concede to the president we're going to do that, but then they want to enter into budget talks at that point. Do you think some of these really simple things that are in this McCarthy plan, you called it radical? Would you not do anything at all about the $32 trillion in debt? Is there anything in there that has merit in your view, or just continue apace the way that we're going right now? Does that seem reasonable, or would you negotiate afterwards to try to cut spending?
You made an important distinction there, and it's one to remember, that the debt limit is about all the past decisions since the founding of the nation.
I understand.
Yeah, paying our bills for the past.
Okay.
And yes,
so
have
I gave
the
you
budget.
That. So do the clean one.
We have the budget process.
And
that is the time to talk about our priorities. Okay. Let's put the 2017 tax cuts on the table, which are responsible for the vast majority of the increase in the debt ratio in the country. Let's talk about that. There's certainly a lot of proposals. Rather than rolling back the funding to support tax.
We had record revenues after that tax cut. The government got record revenue. It's not a revenue problem. It's a spending problem.
I would take factual issue with that point. I think everything we know, we've recently published an analysis that looks at the data on that. If you look at the increase, about 57% of the increase in the debt ratio, if you pull out interest payments, is attributable to the Bush tax cuts, the Trump tax cuts. Let's put those on the table. Let's look at funding for tax administration and enforcement. We just had a great tax filing system, in large part because of the money that was put into the IRS in last summer's Inflation Reduction Act. Speaker McCarthy's proposal would roll that back. That puts us in a deeper hole.
Gene, I'm sorry, Romina, react to that. I think there's some real contention here.
Yeah, it sounds like what Gene is saying. You got to spend some money to make money. But in this case, I do think that this is a very reasonable plan. I would actually say it is too modest because the debt will still rise under the plan that Speaker McCarthy has put forth. And so I think one of the most promising proposals we saw is from the Problem Solvers Caucus this week, which proposes an independent BRAC-like fiscal commission. And such a commission made up of outside experts and citizens instead of members of Congress, I think has a much greater chance of actually being successful, because what politicians will need in order to do what's necessary, namely Medicare and Social Security reform, which make up 95% of long-term unfunded obligations, they'll need political cover to do that. And I think a nonpartisan, independent commission that acts like the Base Realignment and Closure Commission, which was actually successful, unlike Simpson-Bowles and the Super Committee, which we experienced recently, has the greatest chance of success.
Okay. We got to leave the conversation there. Romina and Jean, thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks.